Folks, today we got a big project. I was talking to Mr. Fitzgerald before this video started, before he was going through town. He let me know our iron permit is on the way, but we can feel free to use the iron tools as necessary. He also let me know a very wealthy wheat farming family was looking to come to town, but wanted their property constructed beforehand. Apparently, if we do so, we can have free access to the farm, so that is what we are working on today. For this project, we are going to need a lot of space, and I didn't want to occupy the spaces near the old stone home where the cow pen is, because I have other plans for it. Given this, I decided to head over the hill a ways and build a little further out. I started off by terraforming the space and had to fill in some holes that I will definitely need to come back and manage later, but as a temporary solution, this is fine. Once I had set up the foundations for the first floor, I began experimenting with the walls. Given that my access to other kinds of white blocks is fairly limited, this build may lack some of the gradients our other builds had access to. That being said, we can always go back and fix it. I decided to keep the walls simple and have the diorite framed by the jungle logs. When that was finished, I began to work on the first floor porch. With this build, I am aiming at a more modern, lavish farmhouse instead of the old stone home style I had built with previously. When I was happy with the pillars, I filled the first floor deck and fenced it off. I then filled out the roof over the deck. I wanted to have the roof pop out against the diorite, so I planned on using deep slate, which may have been a mistake given my very limited accumulation of the resource. However, I really liked how it turned out aesthetically, so it was worth it. I then got to work on the roof of the house. I put down as much as I could to make out an outline before I ran out of resources and had to return home. When I returned, I continued filling out the roof. When I finished the roof, I made some adjustments to the first floor so that the supports would align a little better with the deck roof and look better internally. I then began to fill out the walls on the second floor and create some windows for depth on the build. With that, I ran out of resources once more. After filling up my inventory, I came back and started working on the interior. I started by making a grand staircase right near the entrance. I was really trying to make this place feel more high-end, and felt like this would also serve a dual purpose of filling up the inside. When I had placed the floor, I began to section off the second floor so I could make dedicated rooms for when I was ready to do some interior designing. Afterwards, I threw up some glass for the windows. I know I usually time-lapse or show you footage of me building, but I decided to smack a time-lapse in here just in case anyone was interested to watch the build progression from another point of view. When I was done with the basics of the build, including the foundations, walls, and smaller things on the inside, I moved to add some depth on the outside. I added shutters and window flowers, which I think ended up looking really nice. With all that done, I decided to let the main house be for now and move on to the next project. Now, I had originally planned to make 2 more buildings, including a silo and a windmill, but decided to save the windmill for near the cow pen. So I got to work on the silo. I started building up using the stone gradient as a foundation. When I reached the top, I decided to use deep slate as a roof to keep the contrast from the house. After some modifications and a little more texturing, and some depth, it ended up looking like this. With the main building completed, I moved on to the most arduous part of the build, the field. Unfortunately, though, we are out of time and resources, so we're going to have to pick up next time. I know we didn't get to furnish Mel's house, and there's still upkeep at a few other projects, but we will get to those soon. We just needed wheat relatively urgently. With that, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time.